Okay, Mayor?
Are we ready?
Yes.
Perfect. I'd like to welcome everyone to this evening's Committee of the Whole Council meeting on Tuesday, November 18th. We will call this meeting to order and note the members present, members of council, members of staff, those joining us today in the gallery, members of the media, and of course those joining us virtually this evening. We will begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are gathering on the land that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples since time immemorial. We would like to recognize that we are in the Robinson Superior Treaty Territory, and the land on which we are gathered today is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe. Specifically, we acknowledge the neighboring community of Mishkon First Nation, for whom we have great respect. We also recognize the contributions of all Indigenous people, including the Métis, in shaping and strengthening the community and province of Ontario. Thank you, and Miigwech. We will now move on to item number 2, disclosure of pecuniary interest. Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to item number 3, approval of the agenda. 3.1, approval of the agenda. May I have somebody make a motion to approve? Approved by Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Hatfield. All in favor? Carried. Item number 4, delegations and presentations. Our agenda is packed full of delegations and presentations today. I'm very excited about that. We'll start off with item 4.1. We have a delegation and group joining us from Muskoka Wi-Fi today to discuss broadband in Wawa. The group will be led by Will from Muskoka Wi-Fi. And Will, I'll pass over the floor to you and introduce the team that you have over on the call today.
Thanks, Mayor Melanie, and thanks, council members, for having us. I really do appreciate it. Jason has joined us. He is one of our consultants. He's been in the industry for about half as long as I've been alive, so that's a good thing. And then we've got our business partner and definitely a staple in the company, Tom Jarvis, as well, as here today. So just let me know when you guys are ready to proceed, and whether you want to switch the slides for me or whether I should share my screen.
I can share the presentation if you'd like.
Yeah, that gives you guys control of the bigger screen. That's awesome.
Great, the floor is yours. Will, you can start whenever you're ready.
Thanks, excellent. So first of all, by any means, if there's any point to this so you guys would like to stop and ask me questions, I'm happy to interact with people here as the questions come up, because I know that sometimes they're very important to get taken care of right away. So yes, high-speed internet to power Wawa's future. So we understand that you guys have had quite a struggle out there for some years, and we're here to provide and or offer up a solution for you guys to do. So next slide, please. So in June of 2025, not too long ago, many of the people in the Wawa municipality participated in a little bit of a high-speed study. And what that study actually showed us, and it's very similar to what we see here, and one of the reasons why Muskoka Wi-Fi exists, is that for the most part, people weren't happy with their current internet connection. And when it really came down to, for the most part, was reliability, because it all comes back to a very simple thing that, when you're using any service in life, whether it be your car that you purchase or whether it's the bank you go to, it's about an experience. We all understand that there's a speed, and we all definitely understand there's a cost behind things in life. But when it really comes down to the impact to us, it's that experience, or in this case, of reliability. And we've seen a lot of that in the instances of some of the major carriers, and I won't name them, in the past, that have had some large outages. And even most recently, some of the major platforms out there that have had some outages that have affected the globe. There was actually one today that was a worldwide outage that may have affected your internet experience of some of the websites you're using. So that's something that we would just kind of wanted to bring to you guys. I'm sure lots of you are aware of this study, but for the most part, almost 80% of the population of Wawa said they just weren't happy with their internet. So that's a good slide there. So next one, if you don't mind. A great study that we can share with you guys at any point if you would like to get a copy of it. I know Jason has it ready available. BC, the government out there, did a study. It was very straightforward. So for every dollar invested into connectivity or rural connectivity more specifically, was almost a return in those communities of almost $8. And the way that kind of looks is that when you are able to bring people the services that they need, which we'll touch on in the next slide a little bit more, you're really just making I would say, the area that you're trying to improve that much more, call it acceptable to live in, and more importantly, more acceptable to stay in. Because as children are growing up, they need access to education. As the other people are there, they need access to healthcare, and well, everybody else in between needs access to banking, of course. Well, at least I hope they do. So you kind of get that why we put that in there. So again, the study is available, but the government of BC did it in 2024, saying, here it is. You put $1 into your rural communities with giving them great connectivity, you're going to see almost $8 back in it. People are going to want to stick around. People are going to need to do some more stuff. So, next slide, if you don't mind. And again, stop me here because I'm going to go quickly because I want to leave questions or time for questions in the end. So again, this is a very straightforward concept, and everyone today has probably participated in one of these activities online one way or another. Telehealth is something that's becoming extremely popular, more so during the times of COVID when you couldn't even go see a doctor. And if you could go see the doctor, myself included, I was afraid to go to the doctor. I was afraid to go to the hospital because I realized that's where the most amount of sick people were. And even at some point, I didn't want to go to Shoppers Drug Mart. So there's, a great avenue for having something like a reliable and something that is, I would say, acceptable internet connection, because there's going to be those times like here we are today, to be honest. As we all sit here today on this call, we are using the internet one way or another to achieve this. Things like education. Now, this one's straightforward. Everybody knows this. There's probably too much education in some platforms of the internet, like online gaming. I think that could probably be tied back a bit for our younger generation. But I will admit firsthand, there's a lot of projects that I take on around the house that I educate myself in with my iPad. And sometimes I get myself into trouble. YouTube is not always the right way to do it. Spoiler alert, everybody. Don't necessarily believe the internet. But same around the community incentives, things like one of my favorite ones, and we actually use it here in Graveners, is that I can now apply for my building permit online, and all of the information now gets tracked through there. Previously, you'd have a gentleman come out with a piece of scrap paper and you'd write down what needed to be done. Things have definitely moved forward in this platform now. It's called Cloud Permit. The town uses it. It's great for us. So there's just some of the benefits. Now, I like to just touch on banking again. A lot of banking today, as we all know, is done digitally. Cash is almost becoming a thing of the past. Now, I would prefer to still have, a couple of bucks kicking around in case of emergencies, but ultimately we see it today more and more. You can pay with your cell phone, you can pay with your smartwatch. You can sure as hell pay with your credit card, that's for sure. Pardon my English. Sorry, next slide.
Hey, just before you move on to the next slide, just one thing I just wanted to add to the last slide was from an economic development perspective and housing. The one thing that people are looking for these days when they're looking for housing is they're looking for internet, right? They want to make sure there is reliable, fast internet that's available as well. And that does drive real estate at the same time. So when people are looking at whether or not they purchase a house, whether or not they want to live in a certain area, reliable high-speed internet makes a big difference in that decision for them. So just wanted to get that out there as part of the economic development side of things as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Jason. Sorry, guys, I missed that one. So here's some facts. You guys obviously know these numbers yourself. So our research tells us there's 1,210 dwellings one way or another. It's approximately 990 single attached. Some of the other statistics that I really like to see is that you guys have about 420 square kilometers. So your density is kind of low. I appreciate that. I like to have enough room for my neighbors. The addition to that, the 420 businesses, which I thought this was an interesting fact. You guys have 21 businesses that are providing accommodations. Now, as I understand in the conversations with Melanie in past, or sorry, Mayor Melanie and the other council members, you guys cater to a lot of these minds and a lot of, I would say, transient type of people. And one of the things that we do today, for sure, when we're traveling to our conferences, I'm a bit of a stickler, mostly because the business I'm in and my responsibility, but I don't even look for necessarily having internet included. I want free internet, and I want to make sure there's also internet in and around the property. And again, it's something where if I'm unfortunately sitting down at the, in the lobby, that I can still connect and do things on the fly as I go, as I'm, waiting for a taxi or something like that. Great income though, as we see in the area. $107,000 as the medium, or an average of 95,000. And I guess you guys can confirm or deny some of these facts. Does this all sound correct?
It does.
Excellent. Okay, yeah, so roll on to the next slide. So this one, I have to love and hate this. So today is a 50-10 standard. Now, does everyone understand 50-10 and the idea that it's 50 megabytes down? And Jason gave me a great analogy on that one. So that's my face coming to you today. That's 50 megabytes towards you. And then 10 megabytes is your upload. And that means your face is coming to me. And that's probably the best way we can talk about it today and the way that we're using the internet. A 50-10 standard is almost the minimum package that any major provider is selling today. It is the smallest and basic package that we sell today for sure. And what we've been looking at today and some of the technology that we use, our new goals are almost 10 times that exactly, and are going to be 10 times that. So we're looking now to achieve as a company as 500, 100. So 500 megabytes of my face coming down to you. I know it's pretty scary fast, but again, 100 megabytes of your face is coming back up to me. And that is a government standard that was set out some time ago by, I believe, the CRTC. Jason, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that was defined in 2016 when they thought that was going to be enough, and it hasn't changed since. But everything has at least gone up by 4 times if you look at some of the industry numbers that are out there right now.
Yeah, and here's the problem with that is that the reason why we're trying to achieve so much, and I think it's important that we touch on that, is that we're looking to, as a company, achieve 10 times those speeds because the demand is forever growing. And as the example today, as we go on, here you can see I don't just walk around with my computer. I've got my cell phone. I've got my smartwatch. As it starts to ring. And then on top of that, a lot of people are carrying tablets, and then they're also carrying, some type of other personal device that's going to be connected to the internet. Now, here is the compounded effect to that is that we all have these platforms like iCloud. So if you're an iPhone user, you're running around with an Apple ID account, and every time you take a photo, a text message, or whatever, it's going up to iCloud and being stored. If you're using something like Google Drive, if you're using something like Teams meetings, all these platforms have this constant sync, especially things like Microsoft and Microsoft 360. They've got what's called OneCloud. And so there's a continuously demand of having all this information going back and forth. And then we're going to layer on this one extra item called AI. Now, it's kind of a buzzword that everyone likes to talk about. But AI has this wonderful ability to chew through so much data and create even more. And people are using it for all kinds of weird stuff. They're using it to mask their videos. They're using it to create a document, whether it to be rent an apartment or whether they just want to get help with their homework. And that's where we're going to see a forever increase on the amount of data, because it's easier for you now to not sit down and do the work yourself. You can simply just ask your phone. Siri has an AI built into it. ChatGPT supports it. and so on and so forth. So you kind of get what I'm saying. So that standard of 50-10, although is unbelievably acceptable if you want to just watch Netflix and or scroll through your Facebook in the evening or send a couple of emails or even do a FaceTime like we're doing now, that works 50-10. But as the future comes with these bigger platforms that are more demanding, let it know, and I hate to touch on it, but kids in their gaming stations can literally, I mean, one single PlayStation or Xbox in your house could destroy a 50-10 connection. Unbelievably, you wouldn't even be able to surf through your Facebook if your son or daughter or whoever, could be your father or it could be your husband, who knows, is downloading a new game on their PlayStation. But those are true statistics, and that's why we're trying to reach just a little bit farther and beyond. So let's go on to this next slide here. This one's a little more technical. So this is one that could probably generate some questions, but I'll try to explain it the best we can. So the project and the technology, the way we look at our way of deploying internet is we do it wirelessly. And there's a few reasons for it. There's a lot of proven technology. And again, I was just holding it up a second ago, but we're all running around with these things called smartphones or tablets or whatever you're using to communicate to the outside world. That device has given you this, connection to everything everywhere. And it doesn't matter as you travel around, your connection gets weaker, it gets stronger. So the picture you're seeing here is the same way we would like to design a potential network for Wawa, in the idea that we would be doing it wirelessly. And we do that for a few reasons. Based on this, again, map that you're seeing as a heat map, red is a good color, and red is meant for hot. And we use that as a strong signal. And it's just a terminology in the wireless industry. And we do this based on these roughly 3 locations. Now, thanks to the council members and obviously Mayor Melanie, we've actually come up with some different properties. We could actually send you a new version of this map because some of the mine partners and some of the landowners out there are willing to work with us to give us a, call it, competitive edge based on location and some existing infrastructure, because there's even a water tower that's been out there that I didn't know about. So. But that's kind of in a nutshell and how you would see the coverage of it work. You guys are nicely laying down in this valley, as you know, and the coverage with those 3 towers really does cover off, most or all of Wawa. Any questions regarding this slide?
Is this where you're going to put your towers?
So these are proposed locations, and we do this for a few reasons. And we like to cheat a little bit. One, we have to find the origin of the internet. So the origin of the internet today into Wawa is on the name of the streets. It's in behind the current OPP station, just as you can see in the middle of the map there. Cogeco, or not Cogeco, Shaw and or Rogers owns a piece of property there. There's a small tower there. Sorry?
Mills Drive.
Yes. And that's where there are some lines that come in that are high enough capacity that we could, call it the origin of the internet for us to service the area. So again, these are approximate locations. That one's kind of the only one that would be almost crucial. Now they do shift around a little bit, but the more we shift, the more expensive they get. If we can find the neighboring property, as we've seen, there's a couple of buildings in the area that look like they are in business or maybe out of business. Those are the kind of properties that we would need to approach. Just to, again, we put up a tower there, hopefully with the agreements and or compliance with the airport, because let's be honest, we don't want to cause any problems with the planes. So. Perfect. So back to what we were talking about with speeds here. I just really want to touch on this one. So I realized today, after again some of the information we've gathered over the last months and conversations, that the majority of your residents today are using Starlink. Now, I have to admit, we have a love-hate relationship with Starlink. Starlink, as we refer to it in Muskoka Wi-Fi, is an individual solution. It's not a community solution. You have to keep in mind that when you're using a satellite technology now, These things are lower Earth orbit. Jason, do you know the kilometers that these things are traveling? I think it's thousands of kilometers, is it not?
550 some odd kilometers above the Earth.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, my point being is that you have a lot of, I would say, margin or room, no pun intended, for error when it comes to these things. And one of the things that you're going to find going forward is everyone likes to talk about the speed of their internet. The health of your internet really comes down to latency. So the second line in our graph here, you'll see it coming across. Our typical latency is anywhere from 5 to 25 milliseconds. And then you have a little bit of router tax in your house. You end up maybe around 30 milliseconds. Starlink, because it's traveling so far and it's, your internet has to basically leave the Earth, go up to space, come back or go across space a little bit and then come back to you. Their latency is around 25 to 70 milliseconds. Now, let me explain latency a little bit to the average person because it's not a well-known fact. But the best analogy I can use is that it's the pressure in the pipe. So we've all turned on our bathroom sink and the water just dribbles out. Well, it's not very helpful. When the water comes flying out there and blasts the toothpaste off your toothbrush, well, that's more helpful because you got water pressure, but you got toothpaste everywhere. But you get my point in that analogy. Latency is like pressure in your pipe. The lower the milliseconds, because that's how long it takes to travel or it takes your request to the internet and come back, that's the responsiveness, or I call it the pressure. Now, with our type of technology that we're using, we can now, and we're not capped at 900 megabytes down. We could put in different technology that could go faster, but for the average individual user, not needed. If there was a business out there, absolutely. We could give them a gigabyte or two connection. We could, if you wanted to, get them up to 10 gigabytes. But I got to be honest, not a lot of people use 10 gigabytes. And the same thing is at the upload. So our uploads are far superior in the idea that, again, our internet's only traveling a few kilometers from its origin or the fiber or the high capacity backhaul to the end user. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I like to think is that our solution is a solution for a community. And more importantly, it's keeping your data here. Now, I don't want to get into the whole data sovereignty thing, but more importantly, if you're shooting your data up to space, back over to the US and back around, your DNS traffic, that kind of stuff is then being filtered and monitored by them. When it's done by us, we're here, we're local, everything stays here. We have no reason to send it anywhere else in the world. So, any questions on that slide? I know it's kind of overwhelming.
Having said that, though, I think Starlink for what it is great for a backup connection. It's great for a secondary source if you need that level of redundancy as well. So nobody's suggesting it's not a good technology. We're just suggesting that if you have the opportunity to have something local and something that is potentially community owned, community run, community operated, and that is sovereign as well, that's typically the direction to go.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Jason. So something like this it takes us a bit of time to get going because of call it red tape. ISED is a lovely governing agency, and for people that aren't familiar with the terminology, ISED, it's Innovation, Science, Education, and Development. We have a few rules to play with by them to get these things done. Permits, obviously, and procurement. Some of these things we have in stock for the most part. Help from the township to get permits done. That's going to be a little bit less. That's why we only have it 30 days. Construction, now we put 90 to 120 days in there because we've all had a contractor that just didn't show up. I'm not saying ours are not going to show up, but you get my point. Construction is kind of inherently just not dependable, depending on, it could be a concrete truck, it could be, there's many layers within construction process that is not entirely in our control. And then obviously the fourth is the fun one. We get out there, we onboard subscribers, we get the marketing done, and we actually get the community involved, and we get people hooked up. So it's a way better stage than the rest of it. Next slide. So purpose of a partnership. So we kind of look at these things as an opportunity, I would say, for everyone. And when I say everyone, it's truly everyone, because we want to be able to provide a better internet connection for a better price. And that's kind of my goal. And the reason, and it's, selfishly my goal for that is because I don't want anyone to leave Muskoka Wi-Fi once they sign up for us. And we can do that in a few different ways. One, if we do the build ourselves, we can do it internally. Hopefully there's some able-bodied Wawa participants out there. We love to hire local trades. Why? Because you know the lay of the land better. You know the better electrician. You know the better, again, concrete guys. So, and then the obvious thing is that participation, or I would say just not an investment, but I would say getting the township or the municipality actually involved in the process. So, looking for the land, thank you very much, Mayor Melody. There's been so much help from you guys in the council of giving us different ideas of who to talk to. The permit process, again, it's a letter of concurrence saying that, yes, we know we're building in towers, and yes, we know they're this tall, and yes, they do or do not need a flashing light because of the airport. Right of ways and that kind of stuff. If there's some infrastructure like additional fiber lines that may need to be run, that'd be very helpful as well. Overall, though, the infrastructure, design work, installation, ongoing maintenance, making sure the facilities that we're using and are everything safe, that is all going to be on us. Now, here's something we wanted to kind of throw out there because it's a big one. Primary ownership of Muskoka Wi-Fi of the network would be definitely done by Muskoka Wi-Fi for liability and so on and so forth. But we would like to say, and just as a discussion point, is that there could be a private-public partnership here for co-ownership, and we would do that in a way of a revenue share with the municipality. And so again, going back to not just investing to give people the services they need, and not just giving people the services they need at a better price and more reliability, but giving it back to the community in the way that it can actually put money right back into the community. And however you guys choose to, use that money is entirely up to you guys. And then the last but not least, the operation of the local asset and the investment. Of course, 24/7, we would monitor, maintain, and keep it going. And hopefully we could do that with some local Wawa people, because I will love to come visit. I'm going to love to come build out the towers. I actually climbed them myself, and I'd love to be there for all that. But when it comes to Saturday night at 8 o'clock and somebody cuts a cable or, plugs the wrong thing in, hopefully we got a local guy out there. We'll get someone, to do that, because let's be honest, that's the best way to have this, is to put a local person on site that we can train up, or maybe there's someone out there that already has the skills that someone can recommend. So any questions on that slide? Okay, last one. So obviously, again, thank you, everybody. This has been probably one of the least grueling ones, but let's look at it in an idea of future-proofing Wawa. Let's have you guys set up for the future. And like I said, we're not going to go for the 50-10. We're going to try to do 10 times that. We'll bring out the new technology that's got lower latency, that's got better reliability. And I would really like to do it as a partnership. That way that everybody's invested in the idea that we're going to do it right the first time. The community is going to have a better solution and at a better cost for internet and TV. I left TV out a lot of there because not everyone needs to sit in front of the TV more often. But hey, it's part of the solution at all for everything. So, and then I know I used it up right to the minute, but is there any questions?
Council, any questions? Councillor Hoffman, do you have questions, comments about the presentation?
You can.
No, please. After you.
Who's gonna pay for all this? Are you wanting us to put money in?
So it's a great first question. So there's many ways to fund this type of build, and one of the best ways to do it, like I was asking, is that if we can come up with an alternative funding model. We have a previous example where we got a 0% loan from another township local to here to Graveners. And the way we did that is that we did a reimbursement based on people connected. So it was kind of an investment, but at the same time, we like to call it golden handcuffs. We had to do the job in order to not pay the money back, and it worked out really well. They gave us 3 years to do the build. We did it in 3 months because we were so motivated. And then they gave us 10 years to hook up as many people as we could to not repay the loan, and we've done that in less. So the other options is going to other facilities, and I think if Jason or Tom wanted to chime in on any of this stuff, it increases the cost to do it, and it also takes longer. I would like to do it at a lower cost with support from municipality, and that way we can provide internet at a cheaper price to the end user. I don't want to see people paying $140 or whatever it is for Starlink these days. I don't know if it's going up or down, and paying that for the rest of their lives. We're looking at internet packages today that are down to as little as $75 for reliable, fast internet.
And we are looking at alternate funding sources as well, whether that are dollars that are part of grants, dollars that are part of broadband programs. We've been trying to figure out where in the province we can go to support some of these things. Again, the public-private partnership. So we're working through that still in terms of what different models do we have to be able to take advantage of to help offset the costs to get this thing going, quite frankly.
Councillor O'Pennell?
I have no questions.
Councillor Hobbin, did you have a follow-up question?
And are you like Rogers? You're going to be running lines to the house?
Our initial stages would be done entirely wireless. We would be using some of the, let's call it, and it truly is, it is some of the latest and probably the highest end technology we can get our hands on. And the reason why we do that is because it's the most reliable. It does cost the most than any other provider out there, but it's negligible when it comes to not sending out a service technician every 6 months to fix or replace. When it comes to a secondary or call it long-term plan, ultimately we could do an infrastructure build. It all depends on really the requirements of the municipality. If you guys find yourselves in need of better than a gigabyte, by all means, we can do a wireless point-to-point link or we could even run fiber. But ultimately, the gear that we can access today works very similar to your cell phone. It can go through trees. It can go, or sometimes even around buildings as a reflection. And it will provide a faster, more reliable connection than the old DSL that's running around out there or the old coax plants.
One more question. It's with my carrier, I can be sitting there watching TV and then all of a sudden, bang, it goes off the air. And I lose my internet and I lose my TV, and sometimes it could be for a day or more. And then, or I have to sit there and play with my modem to try and get my signal back. Is the same thing gonna happen here, or is that gonna be gone? Thing of the past?
That goes back to that whole thing at the beginning about that. If you look at the two charts right at the beginning where people said, I'm unsatisfied with the service that I have and I'm unsatisfied because of the reliability, right? Where then you're a perfect example of where you pay for something, it's giving you what you need most of the time, but it's unreliable. So no, I think that's where reliability and experience are the new speed. If you look at it that way, where everybody in the past has talked about, I want it fast, I got to have, I want the most I can get for the least amount of money. These days, it's all about reliability. So if you can't build it reliably, it's not worth building. And I think that's the message here, is that we want to make sure that whatever goes in is supported locally, that it's reliable, and that you don't have those experiences, because that doesn't serve anybody well in the end. It doesn't serve the purpose if it's not going to do what it's supposed to do. So the answer to your question is no, it will not do that. And if there is an issue, there's people around, there's local people to come and fix it, as opposed to having to wait for days upon days to have it repaired.
As a caveat, Jason just said, yes, there will be some issues that will have to be remedied, but nothing like that. Yeah. Nothing.
Right.
You won't lose internet for a day or two, that's for sure.
Councillor Hatfield, do you have any questions or comments?
I find what you're saying very interesting. I don't understand everything, and that's okay. But Northern Ontario is a very challenging place to have internet. Everybody that's always been here said is a little tricky in Northern Ontario. Like, do you think you're going to have any trouble? Have you got other towns in the north yet?
I realize Sorry, Jason. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Will. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I realize Muskoka is not far north as Wawa by any means, but we have a very similar terrain here. We are actually buried in more trees, which causes problems with the RF. So the radio frequencies don't typically like going through high density trees. And so everywhere we look, we have 120-foot pine trees. You guys are going to have a bit cooler days and nights than us, but again, we've kind of hardened our systems or cut our teeth here in the Muskoka area. Now, the issues that we're going to have is just when we come up against them, I can tell you the first one I'm concerned about is just the actual bandwidth we need to bring to the community. Now, I've been told by our providers and I've been, promised that it's going to work and it's going to be there. And that's that first hurdle is to work with the existing infrastructure coming to Wawa to ensure that we can actually really pull it up. There are other solutions out there, and I'm not going to bog you guys down, but there are other satellite types of providers out there, not Starlink, that are specifically designed to feed a community or to feed a tower. They're not 100% online right now, but we will build redundancies into our system. The first design that we've looked at today to give you guys kind of peace of mind is not using just Rogers backhaul, but we would also use Bell. So we would bring two connections in, so playing one off the other. So in the event that one does fail, like the other gentleman was just talking about for a day or two, we're able to rely on the other one. And then to go one step further as we require, we would even bring on another satellite provider, giving us that third overhaul. Just we know we're going to stay online, and we're big believers in solar and batteries and all kinds of interesting ways to keep the internet going, even in the power outages. So we've learned that people just want to be online and they've got generators, and sometimes they plug in their Wi-Fi modem before the refrigerator. So
Awesome. Well, if there's no other questions from council, I'll certainly go. And I think everybody knows that this is I'm very passionate about this subject. It's very top priority for me. And I've been working with Will, Jason, and Tom on this and being supported by, of course, our staff. And for me, connectivity is the foundation of economic development and really so important. And I've worked very closely throughout the years with so many businesses and service providers. We did a video in order to get funding from CTI funding from the federal government, and it was really well. Lots of people in the community participated, from the teachers at MHS to Katie and Dr. Cotterill, and to really and many others throughout the community that really spoke to why it's so important to improve our connectivity for certainly so we can do the things that we all like to do, like Netflix and Facebook, but more importantly, so our youth can stay up to date and to use it for educational purposes and stay up to date with the latest trends. And so we can access telehealth and we can connect so many of the things that we're using, whether it's batteries, solar devices. All of these things are now required to be online for monitoring. And so to me, it's so important that we have this. And at that time, Wawa did receive funding from the federal government, and unfortunately that funding envelope wasn't used at that time. And I'm working with Terry Sheehan at the federal government to see if we can re-access that. And Jason did touch upon that briefly, that, accessing different pockets of money would reduce the costs for Wawa. Because, so often we think of just the fun things, but it's the important things that really fuel our economy that every other community in our region has. Chapleau, Dubreuilville, White River, Hornpayne, Manitowoc. All of these communities have fiber to the home, which are well over the 50-10 speeds. And if we're going to compete with these communities or even keep up, never mind compete, we need to have it too. And if we don't, we might as well just shut off the lights and go home. So So I think what we do normally at the end of these presentations, gentlemen, is we defer the issue to staff to write a report and to make a recommendation. I think, as you've heard from council tonight, I think, and certainly based on my level of passion, because I can stand on my soapbox for the whole evening. I know everybody knows that. We're very interested in pursuing a partnership with Muskoka Wi-Fi. It's just a matter of how we get it done. The timeline looks great. My question to you was, how can we shorten it? How can we make it tomorrow? So we can have those conversations, but certainly the business end, how we're gonna pay for it. I know that's something. So if all of council is in agreement, if nobody's objected to my comments, we'll defer the issue to staff to make a recommendation to council, and we'll certainly find the answer to those questions. And
I'd like to say one more thing though.
absolutely.
If you ever get short of having people be on your side, just call Mel.
Yes.
She'll work for you for free.
Absolutely. I look forward to it. Help.
So don't advertise that too loudly, Councillor Hatfield. But is there any other questions or comments before we close?
Oh, it was a good presentation.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is cost. I think that's it's going to decide yea or nay on this whole thing.
Mercy.
Maury, do you have any other comments? Did I forget anything before we close?
No, it was excellent, and I look forward to working with you, Mayor and Council, and our presenters to get you a report back on how we will make this work, and we will shorten the time as much as possible.
Perfect.
And
Jason,
we're happy to
Will?
provide any other input you need for that process as well. So if there's other information that you need or collateral stuff, let us know. Lots we can give you.
Awesome. Okay, thank you very much. So you're more than
Thank
welcome
you
to
so
stick
much.
around for the rest of our meeting, but if not, you can sign off.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
And with that, we will now move on to item 4.2, Concept, local energy project. And gentlemen, you're in the room. We don't have anybody joining us online? No. Excellent. Another very exciting presentation. Whenever you're ready.
Maury, you're able to share the presentation, please?
Yes, but I have to share this one. So I can close that one down. There.
I believe it's the other, there should be the other, oops, next. There's another deck.
No, that's the only one I don't have.
I've got it up here if,
Can you
best way to do it
Can
is-
you email me at meeting@wawa.cc?
Most likely, I have not logged onto the Wi-Fi. Is it the EBB 6?
Sorry,
That's
I'll
where the
just
email
check.
comes in. For you there, sorry. Awesome, thanks.
Yes, please, yeah. I was gonna try to find it on here.
Just stop your share.
Good. Let's see. It's there.
And Maury, my apologies, what email am I sending it to?
So it's a meeting
Wawa.cc.
Yeah.
All right, it's on its way.
Sorry about the mix-up.
No, that's okay. I sent, the two documents probably in separate emails, so a little confusing on my part.
Yeah, got it. I sent it to you. It's two. Did it come through right?
I can also oh, you got it? Okay.
Yeah, sorry. They
No.
just uploaded, you said two and they uploaded the wrong one.
That's okay. Not a problem. Awesome. So thank you very much for taking the time, allowing us to attend this meeting and present our project that we've been sharing some information, I know with Maureen over the last few weeks. And so here to really give everybody a sense of what we're proposing, where we're proposing it, and of course who we are. So I'll just start off and each of us will be involved at different points in terms of how the presentation will flow. So my name is Mark Grant. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Reconcept Canada. We are a Canadian company based in Toronto. Our primary shareholder is a German-based investment company, and that company has been around for over 25 years. They raise green bonds in the German market, and they use the capital from those bonds to invest into renewable energy projects. And so we have offices in Hamburg, Berlin, Helsinki in Finland, and then Toronto for our office. And out of our office, our focus is on greenfield renewable project development. And so that means we focus on originating and developing wind, solar, and battery storage projects. And we are invested currently in British Columbia, Alberta, Ontario, and the Maritimes. I don't want to get too granular with that, but we're in a number of different provinces in Canada. And my colleagues, I'll let them introduce themselves, and we can then also turn it over to Nick to walk through the presentation.
Thanks for having us. I'm Nick Collard. I'm the Senior Development Manager at Reconcept for Ontario Eastwards in Canada.
Thanks for having us. My name is Mohammed Shihab. I'm Senior Project Manager with Reconcept.
Okay, great. We can get started. So next slide, please. All right, so we are here tonight to ask for a municipal support resolution for our project with the understanding, though, that it'll be voted on in a following meeting. The request is on behalf of the Superior Highlands SLP, which is on behalf of Reconcept Canada. And basically, we're requesting that a resolution is passed supporting the submission of a proposal for a long-term capacity project for the IESO, the Independent Electricity System Operator, long-term 2 procurement. The project lands that we're looking at, I'll show you a little bit more detail later, is at 1 Pinewood Drive. And very importantly, the support is solely to satisfy the mandatory requirements in so it's section 4.2C of the LT2 C1 RFP. And so the resolution does not supersede any planning, permitting, or approvals otherwise from various levels of government and regulatory bodies. This is a mandatory criteria for the RFP. I should definitely make note of that as well. So without the municipal support resolution, we cannot proceed with the project. Next slide, please. All right, so just a little bit of a background for grid-connected battery storage. On the pictures, you can see a single unit, and then what a project would potentially look like above that. BESS, or battery energy storage system, stores electricity when demand is low and releases it back to the grid when needed. So that's generally storing at night and releasing during the day. Why BESS matters for the grid reliability. It instantly supplies power during outages or disruptions. It's great for renewable integration, so it stores excess solar, wind energy, etc., and delivers when generation dips. It's great for peak shaving, so it discharges stored power during high demand periods, which can ease stress on the grid. Load balancing, it smooths out fluctuations in electricity supply and demand in real time, and it's also great as an emergency backup. Next slide, please. Okay, so Wawa specifically is part of the ISO's Northern Zone, which they are giving bonus RFP points for in this RFP. New capacity projects are encouraged to strengthen reliability and balance, again, capacity across the region and province. The province of Ontario currently has the Energy for Generations plan, which lists BESS as a critical reliability resource. Battery storage is highlighted in this plan as essential for meeting rising electricity demand and maintaining reliability as Ontario expands renewables and electrification. And it also notes BESS as an enabler of clean energy and decarbonization. Storage, of course, again, to reiterate, helps integrate renewable generation, but also hydro, and helps to reduce emissions from peaking gas plants. The ISO LT2 RFP, which I've mentioned a few times, is a competitive process run by the ISO, which is seeking new build capacity resources, so newly built. There's a few key rules. One of them is that projects need to be greater than a megawatt. Again, for the third time, they need to be new build, and they must be able to deliver energy for 8 hours consecutively. Also, they need municipal support. That is a very important rule. The capacity stream timeline, just want to make note of it's a windowed approach. So our proposal submission for window 1 would be on December 18th, 2025, but pending, or if that doesn't happen, there's window 2, which is expected roughly a year after that, although it looks like it's ticking into 2027, last I checked. And then my understanding is that a year after that will be window 3, a year after that window 4, but really we're focused on the first 2 right now. Contract award for the first window, and all timelines I should mention in this presentation going forward are mostly directed to the first window. Contract award, we're expecting June 2026, and commercial operation date, we're targeting 2029 or 2030. Okay, so the specific project details, again, 1 Pinewood Drive, but the rear parcel, so the northwestern part of the parcel. The zoning type here is industrial, so M1. The ISO doesn't have specific restrictions against building these projects, so official plans also, I should say, this is not part of a prime agricultural area, which the ISO has specific restrictions for solar, but a BESS would also need an agricultural impact assessment done. This one does not need that. The current use is it's vacant, but used for various property purposes. And our proposed project size as of today is 75 megawatts with connection at the 230 corridor to the south. So that is a little hard to see, but
The map on the left.
yeah, the map on the left, exactly, thank you. At the end of the project life, there's a few options that can happen. There's a potential opportunity to extend the project. I think it's in 5-year increments in the contract. There's a potential to repower it and add new equipment. And then, of course, there's decommissioning. So when the contract ends, we're bound by our lease to remove all the equipment and recycle components, returning them to land as closely as possible to its pre-project state. Next slide, please. Okay, so with the project timeline here, I don't think I'll go over in great detail, but this is window 1 specifically. RFP submission Q4 2025, which is right around the corner. Contract award in June, as mentioned, unless they approve that. And then I think the next important date here would be the COD again at 2029, 2030. And then end of life decommissioning, taking into account some of the things that I mentioned previously. We have pegged between 2050, 2059. It doesn't take that long to decommission a project. It's more just if a 5-year extension is awarded to it or something like that. So it'll happen sometime in that window. In terms of fire safety, all the BESS we use will adhere to all applicable standards. They're listed here. We can go over them in greater detail, and they're in the package that we sent along as well. The units have early off-gas detection, smoke and heat sensors, and are compartmentalized to prevent fire propagation. In terms of response planning, we'll provide firefighter access, labeled disconnects, and a documented emergency response and communications plan coordinated with the local fire department. And we will provide sufficient training through early and continuous engagement with the fire department during project permitting, which we will pay for. Next slide, please. Okay, regarding community engagement, so we're committing to at least one open house to be held in Wawa, but additional sessions as required through our Class EA process, so almost a guarantee there'll be more than one. It's just we're committing to engage, basically. As well as in-person engagement with First Nations. We will definitely notify landowners in a timely manner. We're bound to do that. Within 30 days of engagement, all local landowners to the project will be notified. In terms of municipal coordination and alignment, we've sent in our pre-engagement confirmation on time, which was sent on October 17th. We engaged, I would say, lightly with Wawa prior to that, but we'll continue to align with staff on everything project related going forward. Including timelines and approval expectations. Also just noticed that there are some pictures that I maybe haven't been talking to at the presentation, my apologies. Community and economic benefits. Maybe I'll call it the pictures actually really quickly. These are a few sites that the EPC that we're currently talking to has built in the last few years in Ontario, I believe.
So these sites actually show, you know, at least the first photo there, you can get a pretty good sense of what the project, you know, it's a lot smaller. Battery projects are a lot smaller than ground mount solar projects, for example. Definitely a lot smaller footprint than a commercial utility wind project. They don't use as much land. You essentially have a cleared space that you need to grade and pour foundations within, and then install your equipment, and then you'll have your electrical and interconnection equipment as well. So just to give you this, these are not the same size as what we're proposing, but these are recently built Ontario projects from the contractor that we would like to use.
Yeah. Okay, so continuing on the slide, the community, and economic benefits. We're proposing to negotiate a municipal community benefit agreement, a CBA, with an offer at start of $1,000 per megawatt annually for the project. Again, 75 megawatts is what we're targeting. These projects offer a stable tax revenue for Wawa and long-term lease payments to the landowner. The CapEx we're estimating, so the capital investment at $170 million for the project itself. There will be local procurement opportunities, certainly. Inject money into the regional economy during construction and provide an opportunity to drive significant local economic activity. There's not a huge construction workforce that is required for these projects, as we've talked with our EPC about, but an estimate of about 25 construction phase jobs across civil works, electrical installation, logistics, and site services are available. And 1 to 3 operational roles, plus ongoing indirect jobs through maintenance and service contracts. Next slide, please. In terms of environmental and permitting, we've already done a desktop level environmental screening on the project, and we've had a third-party consultant also look at it. Most permitting and studies and approvals occur after contract award generally for these, so you'll notice in the timeline here, I'll go over briefly. A lot of that work is sort of back-weighted, but the key regulatory pathways that we're looking at are the Class EA, that's the class environmental assessment for transmission facilities, and EASR for air and noise, that's an environmental activity sector registry, detailed design for stormwater, and ECA for stormwater, and there will be archaeological and cultural heritage screenings and clearances that need to be done as well. So engagement, fieldwork, and technical studies all will also go towards informing the municipal planning approvals. And so, so this is the site, but this is on the Blueberry Farm property looking south towards the site. So that is an example of visual screening that's already in place. Okay, so actually I think Maury, just stay on there for a little bit, I'll just go through.
Wasn't trying to rush you?
No, we're almost done, actually.
Yeah.
So as mentioned, the desktop permitting is done or underway, I would say. We did the early municipal pre-consult, but that is definitely ongoing and was done fairly lately. Noise modeling we've begun, and that's informed the project size that we're proposing. And then going forward, we'll need to do the rest of these things as well as some other things. So just SAR, to name some of the acronyms, is a species at risk study, a screening and field surveys will need to be done. Archaeological screenings and field work will need to be done. And then I think pertinent to the conversation here, site plan approval, zoning bylaw amendments and official plan amendments, if those are required. We're not sure yet, but that'll come up in conversation. And then building permits and various other municipal permits will be done. Next slide, please. And yeah, with that, thank you so much for having us. I'd definitely like to open the floor to questions.
Awesome, well, thank you very much, Nick. We did have the slide. It was attached, so all good.
Yeah, sorry.
Councillor Hoffman, questions, comments?
Are you competing against other companies, or will Wawa have any amount of you battery factories here?
So actually, we just found out about another company this morning, funnily enough. I don't believe we're competing against that project specifically in terms of where the connection would be. I don't know that for certain, but I think there's enough connection in the Wawa area to go around, is my feeling at present. So we do compete, but I think I would need to know maybe more about the project specifics for the other project.
The province has put an RFP encouraging everybody to apply, so.
Yes, that's true too. It is a competitive RFP, so yeah.
So if we wanted a couple more to come into Wawa, to help our economy, no problem with
Well,
that.
we do, just based on the size of the property, and the amount of space there could be an opportunity to expand the size of the current size. Noise is definitely a factor that we have to be mindful of, and that we can't build as much as we would like to build in terms of, as big as we want, just respecting those noise requirements that we have to be mindful of, because there's receptors nearby that we have to study, and but could there be the opportunity here that we've discussed with the landowner about possibly doing solar on the property as well? again, taxable resource in the community that could also come with additional benefits. So we think there are, we've been looking in the region at wind, nothing specific at this point, but just, looking for those, to identify those opportunities where you could site, new wind, likely on ground, but, that would be obviously outside of the community, per se.
Yeah, we think there's definitely more opportunities in the Wawa region, for sure.
Awesome, thank you. Councillor Arpato, do you have any questions?
And what made you pick Wawa?
Well, a couple things. The property is amazing, close to like a few different connection points. The northern RFP points definitely played into it. Also, the ISO released tables that show the capacity on the different circuits. So yeah, the big 230 corridor that we're proposing to connect to has ample connection opportunities as well.
Okay, where's the noise coming from?
So the batteries themselves don't make noise. The HVAC units, so the cooling units, make noise. And the transformer also has the potential to make noise. But in Ontario, you have to model worst case scenarios. So you have to look at like the max noise that might be produced. But generally speaking, we don't think the system will make much noise. It's like hot days, extreme hot days and stuff where the fans might be going on at the same time.
So a follow-up question to Councillor Arpato. When you talk about the 230 transmission line, are you're referring to the Porcupine transmission line or the east-west side? Or neither?
We have the codes. I can provide you. I'm not actually sure what the name is. I know the systems you're talking about, but it's in our package. The circuit codes, I should say.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I can share that information with you or point it out. Take it back and point it out.
I believe it's the Great Lakes Power, Evolution, Algoma Power, one of those companies. It's the local distribution company, the 230.
Actually, it's the hydro one.
It's a hydro one?
Yeah. But there are two opportunities. There's two circuit corridors that run through there. We're still sort of ironing out which one we're going to make the final choice on.
Awesome. Councillor Hatfield?
Yeah, Maury, I'm really happy that we sourced this out to a business in Wawa. Council doesn't intend on competing with another business at any time. So I was really happy to hear that. Kearney is very big on power, very big. I think that's a plus, is it not?
Yeah, there's the previous federal government and then this federal government have been, I believe I don't know if they're passed yet, but there's a number of investment tax credits that have been tabled that projects like this are eligible for. So those tax credits can be upwards of 30%, and those will come with the project needs to use labor. It needs to meet labor requirements. So the type of labor being used on the project, a mix of local but also a certain skill and expertise to help the project qualify for those tax credits. But those tax credits are very beneficial economically for the project. So 30% is what we would actually be getting, the project would be getting back if we met the criteria. So yes, like the federal government on, I would say purely an economic perspective, is currently helping projects like this.
Yeah.
But they're not giving us capital out of their pocket to do it. It's more, okay, the project still has to stand on its feet as a economic project, and then meet the criteria and still benefit. So they are assisting in a in a way that they can. So it is very helpful.
I did a little study on the batteries. Some of it scared me a bit, like Are they as bad as they say? Like, the internet is so hard to get good information off, like, I think, I don't like that site. Oh, they'll mow right through the cement, they'll melt in the ground. I don't think they'll do that. But like, can any assure us that it's okay, it's going to be okay?
That they're safe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I can add more. So to start with, the technology we're using for the chemicals in the battery is the safest, the lithium iron phosphate. The second thing is, and that technology is different than the one that has been used in the project that went on fire and was on the media the past 3 years.
Okay.
The second layer of diligence that's done now is there are 3 layers of protection in the system. There's a battery management system that monitors each rack and cell status, whether temperature or state of charge, and monitors if there is heat. It escalates to a certain protection level after that. There is the fire smoke detectors and fire alarms inside the containers. And the third layer is all of these systems interact with each other to shut down either the container or down to the level of the rack or string within the container to prevent any issue from escalating and spreading throughout the container or from one container to the other. So that's on the technology and then the design of the system itself. And the third thing, the other point I would like to say is that the system is tested to meet the most stringent standards in the industry, whether it's NFPA 855 or UL 9540A. And the testing went to a point where it can test in case of an unlikely event of fire, type of constituents in the smoke. And all of those tests are made now, done. The past year, most of the manufacturers do them. And the results has proven using that technology and all these measures that the constituents in the airborne noise and airborne chemicals meet the AEGM requirements, and it's safe.
Well, that, not that I understood every word you said, but I got the message that it will be safe. There's so many things online to make it safe, and basically I just like to know that because, our fire department, anything that happens or so. But thank you. I'll have to read some of those numbers.
So if there's no other questions or comments from council, I really enjoyed your presentation. It was extremely thorough, and we had a lot of conversation at the council table about community benefits, fire safety and emergency management, community engagement, particularly around Indigenous communities. And all of those questions and more were answered, so thank you very, very much for that. At this council table, we've been really very diligent about supporting our local businesses and really, making sure that our local business is top of mind and priority. If they're successful, we're successful, and having a local partner in this project is really really amazing to me. So thank you for that. This project is really such a good project. I'm so happy to see it. Within the last year, council supported our community economic development. It's called EDACT. I've never known the name. It's nothing that rolls off your tongue. To go out to the community through an organization called Quest to really find out, to really see what the temperature was on renewable energy projects, to see how people were feeling about it, and overwhelmingly the community supports these types of projects. And I think by seeing these types of projects in our community, it really will encourage the community to be more mindful and adopt, where possible, where they can do projects like that themselves, whether it's whatever they can do for themselves, whether it's solar panels on the roofs or, battery, plants at their home or whatever it is. But it's the idea that they're thinking about renewable energy and how they can adopt it for themselves. So really interested in having that conversation with your company on how we can, try and get our community on board with that and ourselves at the municipality as well. So I understand that the resolution is mandatory, and I understand that it's on the regular meeting for tonight.
No,
Oh, it's not?
December 2nd.
Okay. I thought it was on there as an amendment. But, so we will pass it so long as there's no objection on December 2nd. And if there's no other questions or comments, we'll move on. And well, thank you very much for coming. You have your goose pins in advance
Thank you so
as a
much.
token of coming tonight. I will ask Mr. and Mrs. Lang if they have any comments.
No, it's been I met all three gentlemen. It's been we've been in conversations. I think these guys are a good bunch, straight shooters. Everything they've said, they've kind of delivered on. I think it's great for the community. It's great for us. It's great for them. So it's like a win-win-win.
Perfect. Great, well, thank you very much for that, and we will move on to item 4.3. Again, you're more than welcome to stay, but very few people take me up on that offer. You can,
If there are any questions at any point, right, so we're obviously
We just
in
give them
touch.
to Maureen.
Yeah, exactly. But feel free to send any through if you.
I'm gonna look at some numbers.
perfect. Okay, great.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The other speakers aren't there, so Charles and
So item 4.3, Northern Policy Institute Wawa Housing Needs Assessment.
there.
There we go, perfect. So Charles Kirkwell? Hello, how are you?
Not too bad.
You can hear me, perfect. Okay, Charles, the floor is yours. Thank you very much for being patient.
No problem at all. Thanks for having us this evening. Before I get going, I'll steal a second or two to say kudos to council on the last two presentations I heard. Because one, you're talking about building more than 5010, which I think I'm now in love with everybody around the table just for that alone. I spent the last decade telling everybody to stop building 5010, so that's great to hear. And then I love the question about, can we get more of these projects? I love that thinking in that direction. So kudos on both those things. Not endorsing either proposal, just saying I like the place where your heads are at. So on that note, we'll skip over to the housing needs assessment that my colleague and I are working on and presenting. I, of course, am Charles Sirtwell. I'm the president and CEO of Northern Policy Institute. I live here in Thunder Bay. I've been here in Thunder Bay for about 13 years now, I guess, originally from Atlantic Canada. And then I'll let my colleague kind of introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Joshan, and you can call me Larry to make things easier. I'm policy analyst for NPI right now, and this is my second year here. Hopefully, our work makes some sense to you.
Yeah, we've all at the office been trying to convince Larry to tell us where exactly he got the nickname Larry, but he's been very coy about that. So eventually we'll find out, I'm sure. In any event, I'll try to go through the presentation. You've got the discussion document in your package. I think the key thing to recognize is that this is step one in the process. We've got the discussion document with the analysis that Larry has done, and the intention now is to kind of, following this presentation, to place the document out for open comment for a couple of weeks, and then Larry and I are going to hopefully come to Wawa for a few days, do some in-person meetings, and possibly do some online stuff in the interim period, with the idea being that we'll close it out, finalize the document, and then have it back to council later in January of next year. So we'll just go to the next slide. So just to give you some context, the Wawa case study that we're doing is part of a larger MPI project. The larger MPI project is about looking at how an increasing housing stock across the north for a bunch of different categories, for seniors, for at-risk populations, for people generally, of course, but also for first-time home buyers. In addition to kind of looking at the way to increase the stock, the larger project is also looking at the question of assess the level of housing scarcity. You know, we hear a lot in headlines about a housing crisis in Canada, housing shortage, etc. But in many cases, the measures you're hearing are largely coming out of urban centers, particularly Toronto, Vancouver, and other places that are considerably bigger and have much different challenges than we do. And of course, our final portion of the larger project is to take a look at addressing the limits on housing affordability. Yes, housing continues to be remarkably affordable in most Northern Ontario communities compared to or relative to the reality that our Southern Ontario neighbors face or that others in other communities face. But that doesn't mean it's as affordable now as it used to be. Next slide. So, of course, as I mentioned, the Wawa case study is part of that larger project. We just did a presentation yesterday for the community of Terrace Bay, who are also part of the larger project. They've got a case study looking at seniors housing in their community and options around dealing with their aging population. But of course, housing, Wawa's questions is sort of a list here of the questions that we were asked in particular to focus on. The question around expansion of mining and how that might impact in terms of economic growth in the community of Wawa itself. You know, is the lack of, or would the supply of greater housing have a positive or negative impact on locating those mines or locating that workforce? Increasing migration, of course, from people inside the GTA to Northern Ontario, and the potential for Wawa to attract new residents the same way that many other communities are increasingly trying to focus on attracting and bringing those residents in. The question around seniors, not just the seniors that are already in Wawa, but the potential for Wawa to kind of look at its housing mix as an economic tool, much the way that Elliott Lake did a decade or more ago now, 2 decades ago, I guess now. And then finally, the question around potential for new or revitalized industries and whether or not housing becomes one of those factors that makes a decision about to build or not build in the community, whether in fact investment decisions are dependent on sufficient housing. The answer to that question, of course, is one of those legendary "it depends" phrases, because of course, if there's a large workforce, then housing becomes critical. If it's a smaller entity like the folks who just presented, where they were talking about a 1 to 3 kind of staff or operating basis, you've probably got the housing to handle them. The challenge would be on the construction stages, that kind of project. So there's 2 different questions to answer when you start talking about housing as a tool to attract investment. You've also got to deal with the big boom of population during construction phase, and then the smaller operating size. Next slide, please. The good news is Wawa is well ahead of the game in terms of thinking about and talking about these issues. Given what I've heard at council tonight, I guess I'm no longer surprised that you are as far ahead as you are. 2017, you did a housing need and demand study. One of the things we started this project with was taking a look at the projections and forecasts in that study, and largely they hold true today. They didn't vary all that much from the baseline and the potential forecasts. We'll talk a little bit about some of the possible variation as you move into the decade past where we are today. But of course, the fact that that's pretty much online brings you very nicely to the housing action plan you put together in 2023. And the good news, of course, is if 2017 is reasonably on track, it means the things that you set out for yourselves in 2023 are still reasonable today. So things like updating your housing resources, diversifying housing, looking at innovative investments, looking at investment-ready properties, retaining and maintaining existing affordable housing. You know, one of the biggest challenges around affordable housing is always the maintenance and side of the house. I don't have to tell municipal officials that it's comparatively easy to get money to build things. It's ridiculously difficult to get money to keep them up to par. So that's one of the challenges. And of course, the question around exploring and continuing to build those possible partnerships. So all of those strategies continue to hold a place in the community's future and on your housing strategy. So I think that's both good news about 2017 and 2023. Next slide, please. So I'm now going to inundate you in numbers, and I would go slow, but it's 8 o'clock, and so I now know that you're weak and ready to go home, and the coffee you're trying to mainline. So now I'm going to hit you with a bunch of numbers, dull you into insensibility, and then escape without any scathing questions. In any event, the key message here from 2016 to 2021 is that Wawa, comparatively speaking, continues to be remarkably affordable compared to the district and the province as a whole. Some of the interesting things on this slide is that the average value of housing has actually gone up a fair amount in Wawa, but even with the increase in the value, we're seeing the same sort of increases in costs. The monthly shelter cost for owned dwellings actually has decreased from $898 in 2016 down to $860 in 2021. I suspect that's primarily driven by the fact that interest rates are a little bit lower. You see that the rental housing is roughly about the same spot, 665 versus 670. If you built in for inflation for that, it would actually mean that rental housing is cheaper. And of course, because the housing is more affordable, both ownership and renting, what you're seeing is a decreased percentage of people who are paying more than that magical threshold of 30% of their income on shelter costs. That's generally considered not just affordable housing, but also affordable lifestyle, be able to maintain a particular quality of life for yourself. And so the fact that the percentage of people spending over that threshold has been reduced almost by 50% between 2016 and 2021, and has held the case in the last number of years, is good news from a housing affordability perspective in Wawa. Next slide. This is something that we snuck in here. It's actually a new measure of housing affordability. It was created by some folks at what's called the Missing Middle Initiative. Basically, they're a group of academics and quasi-academics who are looking at the question of what happened to the middle class in Canada? How did they get squeezed out, and how do we bring them back? And one of the things that they looked at is something called the Weekly Housing Affordability Metric, which they conveniently named WHAM. So not all academics are bad at communications, because WHAM is a pretty cool tool, a pretty cool name for a metric. But in any event, what it does is it takes a look at how many weeks of earnings in a particular community do you have to have in order to save up a 20% down payment and make the first 5 years of mortgage payments. In Ontario, the province as a whole, to get that 20% down and to have the money in the bank to pay those first 5 years mortgage would take about 417 weeks. So that's roughly what, 4 years, Larry? 4.5? You can nod, or there you go. See, not bad math there quickly. Algoma, it's about 150 weeks, so that's roughly 3 years. So I guess 400 would be close to 7 years. In any event, Algoma is 3 years. Wawa's less than a year. And so that again is a very simple metric to kind of highlight the fact that comparing the salaries in the region, in the community and in the region around it, and the cost of housing, you are a very, very affordable place to live and buy a home, which shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. The next thing that Larry did is he took a look at your potential growth scenarios and population going forward. So took that 2017 study and kind of cast it forward for the next 20 years or so. He did it using the new methodology that came out from the Ministry of Finance in the province about, I guess, 2 months ago, which means that he's done this math twice now. He did it with the old methodology, and then he had to redo it all when the province decided to rebuild its methodology, because we like to be in line with what the province is using, because it makes it easier for everybody to kind of be singing from the same song sheet. So there's two two approaches here. One's called method A, which is the growth scenario. One's called method B, which is basically a stable projection going forward. The interesting thing from this slide, and I'm not proposing to go into it in any great detail, happy to take questions, but the key thing about this slide is that if you look at the population projections out to 2041, you're looking at a population of about 3,300 or so. So slightly higher than the projections that were in 2017. So under the growth scenario, you're pretty much online with the 2017. If everything goes wonderful, maybe you're a little bit ahead of where you were projecting back then. The next slide shows the same sort of numbers, but in the reverse kind of exercise, in that if some things go wrong, if you don't attract as many people as the growth scenario would suggest, you end up with a population that probably sits around 2,800 or so, which is slightly below the 2017 target. So again, the key message here is that the stuff that you built your plan in 2023 on, the 2017 numbers are still reliable, and you're looking at a range that kind of sneaks slightly above or slightly below. So you're still on track for where you have been, and all those conversations you've had over the last number of years are still totally valid, and you don't have to start from scratch. Next slide. The one key thing that we'll highlight, and this was mentioned in 2017, and it will not come as a surprise to anyone, is under both scenarios, the household number, in particular, the share of households that are led by seniors is going to increase. So if you look at either the high growth scenario, you're looking at going from about 1,300 households to about 1,500. Low growth, you're looking at 400 households to about 600. But in either case, the number of households led by seniors, people over 65, is going to go from about 2/3 or to almost 3/4 of your overall household size. So you're going from about 382 now out of a total of 1,200, so you're about a quarter, to roughly 500 out of 1,200, so about a third. So significant shift in the makeup of your households, and we'll touch that on the next slide as well, because Larry wants to really drive that point home. So the demand for seniors housing, under whether you're talking about the low scenario or the high scenario, is going to increase, and it's going to increase significantly. 2021, you're looking at households where 85 years or over was in about that 50 number. 75 to 84 is 110. If you look above, you're talking about households under the growth scenario of about 600 total households being in that seniors category. Large number of them being in the 65 to 74, but a significant number being in that 75 to 84. And as you edge closer to the 84, you get closer and closer to folks who, whether they want to stay in their houses or not, are going to have to leave because they end up with significant medical issues or that kind of thing. And then they have to find additional supports that simply aren't available at home. So again, add a little complexity that we talked a lot about yesterday for our friends in Terrace, but we're not going to talk about tonight in any great detail. Next slide. The other challenge that you have is that the household size is falling in both models. So they're getting older, and the number of people per family unit is getting smaller. So you look at one-person families, the size of the one-person families are growing, size of two-person families are growing, but that four-person, three-person, four-person, or five-person just is not there. And of course, that makes perfect sense as the aging population goes, kids move out, they get older, they may or may not have kids, and your overall family size go down. The problem with that is your housing stock, and that's going to be the next slide. So if you think about households that have one or two people in them, you want me to keep going even though your recording stopped?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Now I can tell you all the secrets. No. So the challenge is that if you take a look at the housing stock in Wawa, it's not all that out of line with what's available in the district or in the province, but it's a problem province-wide, which is we have a lot of 3 and 4 bedroom houses. Our housing stock was built for a different time, when families were bigger, when multiple generations lived in households, and the challenge you have is that you're going to have more and more demand for less space, but you're going to have more and more houses that are both older and bigger. And so then the question becomes, how do you, A, either convince people who don't want to move from a house they've lived in for 35 years, despite the fact that they can't upkeep it themselves? Or how do you take those houses and split them up or turn them into an asset as opposed to a liability for the overall community? Next slide. So basically, that's the quick context, and it's context that should not surprise any of you. The good news is that what you saw in 2017 is still in place. You're getting older, the community is getting smaller, your housing stock's getting older, and the housing is largely too big for the people who are currently using it. I guess it's good news that it's consistent with what the story was in 2017. It's bad news that it's consistent with the story that was in 2017. So your current strategies from 2023 do align with your reality. The housing situation really is pretty much reflective of many communities in Northern Ontario. Housing is affordable. Supply, particularly supply of smaller entry-level houses, first-time homes, etc., is a challenge. And you also have a challenge on the other end of the spectrum in that you have insufficient senior housing. So those are kind of the key findings in the discussion paper that you have a full copy of in your package. Those are the messages that were kind of coming out. And of course, over the course of the next 3 to 4 weeks, we'll be engaging with community members to start to talk about what are potential solutions. We'll put that into a section. We can talk about potential additional research and maybe look at some best practice trends around responses to that, perhaps even taking some of the stuff from Terrace. So in terms of next steps, just to kind of fill you in, the plan right now is from today through to about December 5th, we'll have an open public invitation for comment. We'll also have an online invitation for people from Wawa who want to participate in a discussion about the discussion paper itself. The reason it's December 5th is because unfortunately the Institute's not as big as it used to be. There's only 7 of us now as opposed to 14. So we've got a major conference on the 3rd to 5th of December, so we're a little tied up. So we're going to try and focus on doing the online stuff in the weeks between now and that conference. And then we'll close off with some in-person stuff in Wawa the week after the conference is the plan right now. We're hoping to have an in-person session with council at some point in that process. We also going to be talking to staff about identifying key formats in the community. And of course, as I said, we're opening the floor to community members who want to ask to participate face-to-face or offer their comments online. So that was a lot of information in a very short period of time. But hopefully you get a gist of A, what we found, and B, where we're going, and happy to answer any questions we can.
Thank you very much, Charles. Councillor Hoffman, do you have any questions or comments on that information?
How do you guys know that we're not gonna grow bigger in the next 30 years? Like, that's not a very big increase, and like this town, back in the 60s, we were over 5,000 population, and that was with one industry. And now where we've got mines all over the place, and I know these guys come and go, but I'm hoping that our population does go up a little bit bigger than what you're predicting.
So 2 things on that front. One, the days of massive workforces at mines and forestry industry is a thing of the past. And that's the harsh reality of the situation, whether you're talking about mines in Canada, mines in Western Canada, mines in most of Europe or Southeast Asia or South America. So you're never going to have a single industry that creates 1,000 or 1,500 jobs, or at least it's highly unlikely. And so basically what the province has done is kind of built in projections that you can use, factors that reflect ratios. We certainly could build in I'm not entirely sure what label to give it, but a highly enthusiastic projection going forward. But even if every mine in the region comes on stream, you're not going to get all the people, is the simple reality of that situation. And Northern Ontario is not going to get all those people. A large number of them are going to be travel in, travel out. It's still the reality in Fort McMurray. It's still the reality in Newfoundland. It's still the reality in Labrador. So you know, I think that you can pursue a strategy to maximize the number of folks who work at those places and live in Wawa as opposed to living in other neighboring communities. But hoping that you're going to go back to a 5,000 or 10,000 person community is it's going to be a tough slog. I'm hoping you can do it, but I'm not prepared to say that you will.
Thank you very much. Councillor Arpato?
I'm looking forward to when you come to Wawa and actually ask people what they think. And I'd like to see what the results would be with that, because it'd be quite the discussion in what direction we'll be headed.
Yeah, we've done similar surveys in Terrace and a couple of other communities, and I can tell you that one, they're pretty overwhelming that they want to stay in the communities they're in, but they're pretty less than optimistic that they're gonna have a whole bunch of new neighbors anytime soon.
Thanks.
Councillor Hatfield?
I'm sure you realize I was a miner's wife, and if I had the opportunity to stay where I was instead of follow my husband, I stayed where I was. Most of those men that work at Alamos, there's 1,100, they travel back and forth. They're week on, week off. They're not going to get their families to move here. I'm just hoping they'll change their mind and do it. But it's a really big thing to try to move a family from a place they've been for a long time.
Yeah, I think that's the reality of the situation. That being said, there are multiple communities that have undertaken a strategy to say we're not going to get everybody, but if we can get 10% or 15% of that workforce to stay in Wawa and commute an hour to a mine instead of living in Halifax or St. John's and traveling by plane for 3 hours, is a possibility. So there is that growth factor there. So I think that the expectation that mining and other activities will result in population growth is a reasonable one. It's just a question of how much population you can reasonably expect to capture in the local community.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I really enjoyed your presentation, and as a self-proclaimed kind of research nerd, I loved all the statistics, and I really kind of painted a picture of what I think is accurate of Wawa. I am myself live in an oversized home, because when we went out to purchase a home, there was nothing else, so we bought a big huge house, and we're two people that always sit in the same room. And because there was nothing else there to buy, and so I really do see Wawa in this, and I can't, like Councillor Arpato, I look forward to you coming and speaking with the residents of Wawa. I really find it validating that, you said that we were on the right track with our housing study, because we did, and kudos to Maury. She and Jesse and other members of our team put a lot of effort into our housing study, and we really tried to show the province that we wanted to be aggressive and, really come out of the gate swinging. And we adopted the kind of formula that was mandated by the province for larger centers as a goal, because we wanted to have a housing goal that we would build X number of houses, I don't know what it was, 52, 61, whatever it was, by 2031. And I think that we might be on track to make that goal, although at the time when we kind of put it out there, it did seem very outlandish. But all that to be said, I'm really, really appreciated all of your comments, because I do believe that Wawa is growing, but as you said, on a very kind of slow glacier path. Councillor Hatfield is right. People, if they do come to Wawa, they come in dribs and drabs, not in tens of thousands. So thank you very much for the update. I think we're all looking forward to it. I think this is going to be very, very helpful in our planning and discussions with the province. Councillor Arpato and I are going to Roma in January, and we will be talking to Minister Puri about infrastructure investments to support future housing growth. And I think this will be helpful for us. Is there anything that I've missed? Maury, anything that I've missed? Anything before we move on?
No, we have a meeting with Charles and Larry planned for this week, and so we will send an email to council reminding them of ways they can the other community consultation opportunities as we go.
Perfect.
And
Okay, well,
there's
thank
that
you very
whole
much for your time.
internet dropping thing.
Yes. Another reminder that we need improved connectivity.
Yeah.
Thanks again for your
Okay.
time, and we appreciate the opportunity to work with the community. We're pretty excited to see where you go next.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful delegations and presentations tonight, all very important. So without further ado, we will move on to item number 5, adoption of meeting minutes. 5.1, Committee of the Whole meeting, Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. May I please have somebody make a motion to approve? Councillor Hoffman, seconded by Councillor Opato. All in favor? Carried. Item number 6, business arising out of previous meeting. 6.1, AP memo, aerial spraying and stop the spray signage request. Mr. Patterson, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Because it's 8:17, I will do my best to keep this brief. This is a very large issue, and you can see to the staff report we attach nearly 50 pages of some of the research that we've done, some of the documentation that we found from both sides of the argument. What I will focus on in presenting this is related to municipal policy. There's lots to be said about this argument on either side, and unfortunately we don't have the time tonight to get deep into it. What I'll focus on is within our municipal policies on proclamations, raising flags, things like that. That's the closest that we found to provide us with direction. Sections 4 and 5 specifically prohibit the municipality from endorsing campaigns or organization which are matters of political controversy or attempts to influence government policy. So we have based our recommendation off of that policy for tonight, and in which case it's not recommended to approve the request for support and for signage. So there are 2 resolutions on the council agenda tonight. Those 2 resolutions are up to council to vote yay or nay on. At this time, because the policy staff is not recommending council approve those resolutions, and that will be coming up shortly.
And before I open it up to questions and comments from council, I did promise council that I would bring this back to the mayor's group table, and the final discussion for the mayor's group, we discussed it, but agreed that it was not actionable. So, Councillor Hoffman?
No, I can say I agree with the report.
Councillor
I
Patter?
agree with the report. It's just too bad that we didn't know it ahead of time, that we couldn't act on it anyway. Because it took a lot of time, it seems, for nothing, but I guess things like that happen.
Councillor Hatfield?
I was really happy, Alex, that you went to, get the proper stuff from the M&R and all, like, I talked to so many foresters and said, there's a reason, so I'm glad that you dug into it. 50 pages, well, by the time I got through 30, I was getting a little tired, but thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Alex. And so we will move on with item number 7, monthly reports. As always, the monthly reports are there for council to review and to consider the information. And I'll invite council to ask any questions based on the information in the package.
No questions.
Councillor O'Connor?
That was good with reports this month.
Perfect. Councillor Hatfield?
Could I ask you a question, Mayor, because I'm a little bit mixed up?
Absolutely.
Are we going to let the gentleman and lady over there speak, or?
Yes, when it comes to.
Oh, okay, because I was looking, I thought, okay, no, that's good, I'm fine with it.
We're just moving on, just so quick here. Item number 8, new business, 8.1, 2026 proposed council meeting schedule. The proposed dates are there for us to review and discuss. Maureen?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and council must adopt by resolution their council schedule for the coming year. So we share tonight, and resolution follow on the regular. The schedule will be set out. With it being an election year, you can see that we are only scheduling one meeting in September, October, and then on Monday, November 16th, it would be the swearing in ceremony for the new council, followed by a November 18th meeting, which would likely be starting to do orientation for the new council. There would be a lot more special training orientation meetings scheduled once the new council is voted in. But basically, beginning in September, council becomes what's called a lame duck council. So a number of their authorities and responsibilities get transferred to likely the CAO based on past bylaws, where council delegates authority to the CAO because it loses its power to make large critical decisions that might affect the municipality, given that this term of council may not be returning. But other than noting that there is no meeting scheduled right now for the regular and committee of the whole other than January 20th, it's because the January 6th meeting follows our closure period, so there'll be nobody here the Friday before the meeting to do any of the preparation for the meeting. But in January, you can be assured there'll be other special meetings called as Heather and her team pick some dates for council to hear the budget preparations and deliberations come January. So there is a resolution following on the regular meeting.
Perfect, thank you very much. And can you remind me of the date that, the potential date that we might go into lame duck?
I'm sorry, I can't. I don't have it
Oh, I thought you
memorized.
said it, okay.
I said September, I think it's 60 days, but the election date, I believe, is October 23rd.
Can't remember.
I believe it's in September, I'm sorry, I'll have to get back to you, I don't have that on the top of my.
Okay, no problem. Is there any questions regarding the schedule?
Nope.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much. We'll now move on to item number 2, CAO report, bylaw governing and regulating of vehicular traffic within the municipality of Wawa. Maury, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor, and to Mayor and Council. As you are aware, there's been some complaints about people not following our winter parking rules, which state generally that effective October 15th to May 15th, you can't park on the streets between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. The times are a little bit different on Broadway, given that in the past, because this traffic bylaw is dated 2011, there's a lot more vehicles that might attend some of the entertainment establishments on Broadway and park a little longer. But what I wanted to share with council tonight, and I have attached policy PE 002, which is your traffic policy adopted by bylaw. And it does require some updating. It's been approximately 15 years. So the report tonight recommends first, though, that this policy be amended, that the bylaw in place in 2011 be amended to change wherever it says police officer, and whether that's police officer to enforce the bylaws, the police officer needs to be removed and replaced with municipal bylaw enforcement officer. So at this time, we cannot enforce our parking bylaw because it says police officer, and as council's aware, Sergeant shared the OPP detachment board today at our afternoon meeting. The local police will not be enforcing any parking bylaws any longer. And that is a result of a change to the Policing Act that happened about to change that policy to replace police we change anything else in the traffic bylaw right now? Staff have been reviewing this policy and have some further recommendations about updating, whether it be the dates for where one-way streets are and the code names that the bylaw. Change those, then we have to send our bylaw to the Provincial Offences Court and ask them to renew our short wording, which sets out the fines for infractions in the bylaw, and then wait until we get tickets that are renamed. So there's a whole process when you change your traffic bylaw to getting to the point where you can issue legal tickets. We do not want to delay at this time any enforcement of the parking, particularly the winter parking rules. So we are permitted to make that change to the name, to the enforcement officer. And if council approves that bylaw, then we can leave the system we have in place for ticketing, which also includes the right for the bylaw enforcement officer to call a tow truck. So like many communities, we can move to a system, because it's permitted in your traffic bylaw, to ticket and or to call a tow truck to remove a vehicle. And then it gets impounded and there's a whole process to impounding. But I hope I'm being very clear to council that tonight we are only recommending a change to who enforces the bylaw, so staff can get to a place where it can enforce the traffic bylaw, because right now we don't have the authority and we don't have the power. So later we are undertaking a staff review of the bylaw. We will bring the policy with the other recommended changes to council early in the new year, so we can get those changes made and bring those forward to the process it has to get fines approved by the Provincial Offences Court, and look to change the traffic bylaw sometime in April, May, depending on when it seems appropriate. So essentially, this will ensure that we are able to enforce the bylaw by changing the name. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maureen. I'll now open it up to questions from council. Councillor Hoffman? Councillor Paddle?
I'm just a little disappointed that we found out that the police weren't doing this over a year ago. How come we didn't investigate this before this bylaw came out? Like posted this year saying, hey, everything gotta be off the street, but we hadn't done anything to it until after the fact.
Well, certainly, a staff's workload is very heavy and sometimes things get missed. But I would say that we've never received a complaint, never received any complaints about winter parking last season. So we didn't identify it as a high priority policy to initiate. Now that we've received complaints, we bring it to council as a high priority.
Councillor Hatfield?
Maury, I'm not only disappointed in the OPP, they get paid extremely good money to do our town. And like little things like this could have saved so many headaches. And I just really feel bad that we're putting another job on Kevin. And I find that difficult to understand.
So I'm really glad that the issue has been identified and that we're taking steps to correct it. I think having a path forward is the most important. I think this is, we can play the blame game, but that's not going to help anybody. We do have a complaint has been made, and we're rectifying it. We will ask for patience from everybody as we move forward. And there's going to be a lot of pieces. I heard you say, we can tow, but then what do we do with the vehicle once we tow? We need to have a solution for impounding. So there's all kinds of things that we need to think through. It's not as easy as just doing this. But once we have, the good news about this is once we have the first situation rectified, then at least we have a blueprint for next time. And I think to Councillor Hatfield's statement, her point, I think this is another example of downloading by the province. And there's been many before, and there's going to be many again, where we're going to have something downloaded on us, and we're going to have to figure out how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And that's the business that we're in. We're in the business of solving problems, and we're going to solve them, because that's what we do. And like I said last meeting, it's not easy work. If it was, there'd be more people in this room and around the table. So thank you very much for bringing this amendment in time to solve somebody's issue now, or at least move it forward. And we will come back with a fully revised bylaw. There's many bylaws that need to be amended. And if we had the resources, we could devote one single person to revise all the bylaws that need to be amended, but we don't have the resources for somebody like that. So we do them to answer Councillor Opatos, and he knows this, and everybody, we all know this. We do it on a case-by-case basis, and that's a capacity issue. So I think the recommendation made in your report is that we approve the amendment. And so we'll receive that, will be approved, Maury, at the December 2nd.
I believe we added it to the agenda. It would be a bylaw, yeah.
And so we are expediting it. So it should be understood that it is generally we taught as being expedited.
Mayor,
So-
can I ask a question?
Certainly.
I would like to hear from Mr. Clark and Mrs. Clark. They've been through a horrendous time. Like, I really feel that 2 or 3 minutes or 5 minutes wouldn't hurt any of us. I don't know if my fellow councillors are in agreement, but that's up to them.
So originally, when you had asked me that, I had thought there's no harm in that, but then I did go back to our training that we did have. And you'll remember that when we did receive training from Wishart Law, in order to receive comment from the public on specific issues, we do have to ask for a delegation. So we can invite so other people who might be involved in the situation may also have the opportunity to provide input. And Maureen's shaking her head.
I understand what you're saying, but
So we definitely, if the Clarks do want the opportunity to speak from council, of course, I would always welcome it. However, we do have to follow our procedures and policies. Maureen, please correct me if you feel like there's a loophole or something else, but I do feel like that's the policies and procedures as I understand them.
Yes, it is clear in council's procedural bylaw that it has a process to ask residents when they want to speak, to ask for delegation. But Mayor, I do believe that the mayor has the opportunity, though, to have some leeway when someone's present and there might be something that's a value added to the discussion for council. But I would just share my concern that any comments from anyone that might identify a particular person, address, individual, or circumstance would be against our rules around confidentiality. So I believe that the bylaw does give you the power to make the decision.
So it's for that reason, on those grounds, I would wait, and I invite the Clarks to put in a delegation request, and we're more than happy to hear from the Clarks at any time. But I feel like for the protection of the organization and following the procedural bylaws, we wait till another time. So hopefully,
I'm not happy with that, of course, because I have spoken to people. I didn't think just sharing some concerns would hurt anything, but I'm for them speaking, so I just want that to know.
thank you very much.
I wonder if I could make just a general statement? 30 seconds.
It's, Mr. Clark, it's not necessarily about the length of time. It's about, you're more than welcome to make a general statement about the topic of vehicular traffic policy. But again, we don't want to get into the specifics about an identifiable individual.
I don't want to do that either. I just wanted to thank council and staff for all the effort that they put in the last couple of weeks. I'd like that to be on the record because something has happened. Something has happened, and we're pleased with that.
And it's not only just one area, it's around town. So thank you so much for all that you've done. We really appreciate the work to clean up our town because it's a beautiful town and we need to be able to be proud of it no matter where we go in this community. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you for your support as I struggle to maintain follow our bylaws. And with that said, we will pass the bylaw, this update to the bylaw in the next regular council meeting, which will be in a few minutes. Thank you. So we'll now move on to item 8.3, request for special council meeting on December 2nd.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's just a verbal request. There is a lot of activity happening. I had to also miss a little work, and everyone's very busy. So there were some items I couldn't add to the agenda tonight that do require a special meeting with council. One of those you heard, it would be if council supported the resolution to support the battery storage project that we heard tonight. I asked the proponents, the next council meeting scheduled for December 16th, but that's too late. They have to get their package in before then. So the other thing is we are working on a community improvement plan agreement with another business in Wawa. And because council, I know, would direct that staff, make sure that the Economic Development and Tourism Committee support that application. We're just going through some steps so we can bring this agreement to council on December 2nd and hopefully look for your support, providing some financial incentives for a local business. We also have a site plan agreement. There's a lot of development going on. And as we've discussed with council before, whether it be the renovations that are starting at our subway building for some exciting new businesses and our senior center to the other buildings looking at putting housing, all the permits have come in at the same time. And so we're really trying to work through the process so there'll be a site plan agreement approval. So one of these facilities can move forward that we have to bring on December 2nd. So Mayor, I'm looking for you and council to indicate if there'd be a quorum and you wouldn't object to having a special meeting scheduled on December 2nd.
Does it have to be at night, Maureen? Is it too hard during the day?
I don't think it has to be at night. My response, I hesitate. It's just that's what the community's used to.
Okay.
So to encourage council being transparent at the same time. It wouldn't be, it's a special meeting. I can't see it being more than 30 minutes because we won't put on the regular material. It's just those specific items.
Well, I had plans that night, but it's not a big deal. It won't be a very long meeting, right?
No.
Okay.
Councilor Paddle?
And what day of the week is it?
Tuesday.
Tuesday? Okay, that should be okay with it.
Mayor, sorry, I want to qualify. It's certainly up to council to indicate what time it wants to have the meeting. If you want to change the meeting, that is your prerogative as a council.
So I will be traveling that day, so I was going to ask Councillor Hoffman if you would chair. I can certainly participate over Zoom. But perhaps you can canvass council and maybe Monday, December 1st would be better.
Yeah,
No.
or the Wednesday. Oh,
No, I
curling,
think
the Wednesday. The Wednesday there's no curling.
But if we did it during the day, so perhaps we could canvass council.
Okay.
I know we have to stay away from grilling.
What time, Melanie?
It's doesn't really matter, it's up to council.
1 o'clock's a good time for me. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, on the second, I think so.
Okay.
So
Is that
maybe on 1 o'clock on the 1st,
Oh, the first?
Yeah. then I can share.
So
So,
we'll confirm that by email, I believe Monday, December 1st at 1 PM.
Yeah.
Then we'll advertise it as we always do, whether it be through our website, and we'll add in social media and ask the local radio station to help us make sure that the community knows that that's the meeting time.
perfect.
Thank you.
That would be good.
Wonderful. We'll move on to item 8.4, CAO 2025-14, Wawa Strategic Plan 2026-2027 priorities.
Thank you, Mayor, and to Mayor and Council. Attached is the draft Wawa Strategic Plan. I would refer to it not as the strategic plan, but the update to the existing plan, just to cover off 2026 and 2027, as council met on a couple occasions. We did some surveys with council and staff. This is a document that summarizes what out as priorities under 5 key pillars. 1 being infrastructure renewal, 2 being community well-being, 3 tourism and economic development, 4 organizational units. I've summarized everything to date that I think I heard from everybody, but certainly this is a draft, and there's opportunity for things to be changed, moved around. Again, like any document, it's not static. We can bring it back and do a check-in 4 months from now, 6 months from now to see if anything needs to change. But my report to council tonight is that whether council would like to provide this to community to provide any input on those priorities for 2026. Keeping in mind, we will have some communities open sessions for engagement on our budget, but if council would like, we can post this and look for the community to provide any input maybe over the next, well, the month of December perhaps. So it was our recommendation that council consider providing a community input period before it formally adopts the strategic plan.
Councillor Hoffman?
I think that's not a bad idea, because maybe they'll say some of the stuff that we think is garbage, or they'll say, yeah, it's great.
Councillor Pato?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to do that.
Yeah, I do too.
So I think it's a great idea. I think some of the, I'm looking at Alex as I say this, some of the ideas that we discussed in the planning session, like putting a whiteboard at the, some of the holiday events, or maybe at the Wawa Goose, or sticky notes, whatever kind of innovative solution that's not a survey, I think would be really great to see what people are thinking. I was incredibly proud of this document, and especially the collage of everybody's smiling faces, because not very often do you get to see, these are the people that do the work in the community. Everybody looks great, including mayor and council down at the bottom there. If I don't say so myself, we look pretty darn good, the 5 of us there.
I was glad he was quite a few feet away.
So, yeah, we looked pretty great there. So, thank you very much for that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what the public thinks about it.
Thank you.
And next meeting date, Tuesday, December 16th is our next regular scheduled. And so we will move to adjourn 13.1, close of meeting at 8:45 p.m. And have somebody make a motion to adjourn. Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Opato. All in favor? Carried. Whew, good work, everyone.
You still got one more.
We have one more. We'll take a minute to rest.
If you think I'm going anywhere without watching that kid vote or
Okay.
done too much
I'm
time.
gonna read the whole thing.
I asked Heather to read the resolutions tonight, Mayor, my sort of. Did you get it? I need to go to the. Okay.
Awesome. We all needed that. Okay, wonderful. We will now call the regular council meeting to order and note members present at 8:50 PM. Disclosure of pecuniary interest?
None.
Hearing and seeing none, we will move on to item number 3, approval of the agenda. 3.1, approval of the agenda.
It is moved by Councilor Hatfield, second by Councilor Lopatto, resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council scheduled for Tuesday, November 18th be approved as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Delegations and presentations, there are none, so we will move on to announcements and giving of notice. There are many announcements listed on the agenda. I encourage everyone to take a look. Is there any member of council that would like to make an announcement this evening? Hearing none, we will move on to item number 6, adoption of minutes. 6.1, regular council meeting Tuesday, November 4th, 2025.
It was moved by Councilor Lopatto, second by Councilor Hatfield, resolved that the following minutes of the meetings of council be adopted as presented. Minutes of the regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025, as contained on pages 1 to 5, inclusive of the minute book.
All in favor? Carried. There is only one item under item number 7, correspondence, 7.1, 2026 Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund. This is a good news story. Maureen, did you want to discuss? Heather.
Hi. Thank you, Mayor. So there is a good news story in that WAWA will be receiving for the 2026 year an increase from last year's of $126,900. So we are going to be receiving $1,653,400 this year in 2026.
Awesome. Councillor,
What is it for?
Heather?
I'm sorry, I didn't read that part.
It's the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund. So it's one of those funds, just like the gas tax fund. It's another one that we receive every year from the,
Thank you.
Perfect. So our thanks to the province for increasing our OMPF funding. Item number 8, staff report / memos. 8.1, receive staff memos / reports.
It was moved by Councilor Hatfield, second by Councilor Lopatto, resolved that the council does hereby receive the following staff reports memos. A, Protective Services Department, KS 2025-11, October monthly report. B, Finance Department, HR 2025-06, Ontario October monthly report. C, Infrastructure Services Department, DB 2025-13, the October monthly report. D, Community Services and Tourism Department, AP 2025-13, October monthly report. E, AP memo, the aerial spraying and stop the spray signage request. F, CAO 2025-14, the WAWA strategic plan, the 2026 to 2027 priorities. G, CAO report, bylaw governing and regulating the vehicular traffic within the municipality of WAWA.
All in favor? Carried. Item number 9, business arising at a previous meeting. 9.1, stop the spray campaign, sign request.
It was moved by Councilor Lopatto, second by Councilor Hatfield. Whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of WAWA has resolved to support the Stop the Spray campaign aimed to end the uses of glyphosate aerial spraying, and whereas the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of WAWA wishes to support a request made by a member of the Missinaba Cree First Nation to erect signage supporting this campaign within the Municipality of WAWA. Now therefore it be resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of WAWA directs staff to assist this member in the following ways. 1, finding a suitable location for the signage on municipal or other properties so long as the location matches existing municipal priorities or policies. 2, connect the member with the MTO office if required for highway right-of-way permitting. Or 3, connect the member with the chief building official for sign permitting within the municipal right-of-way. 4, assist the installation of signage by providing material or personnel if required. Be it resolved that the municipality of WAWA will support this project, but will take no ownership of the sign or any required permitting, which will be responsible of the member of the First Nation or the community organization.
Questions, comments? All in favor?
We're gonna vote on that. Good. I think I'm getting tired. No, this is,
So please guide me through. So I say all in favor and the answer is?
No.
Is there any opposition? So maybe I should call the question that way.
Well, all in favor, and if no one puts their hands up, or you can call a recorded vote, so everybody has the opportunity to say their.
So we'll call a recorded vote,
What are we voting on?
the stop the spray.
Stop the spray?
Yes.
Or?
Are you in favor
Are you
or are
in
you
favor or
against?
you're against?
No.
So you're against? Okay. Councillor Pato, are you in favor or against? You're against. Councillor Hatfield?
Against.
I will also vote against. So the motion does not pass. The motion is not carried. Item 9.2, opposing aerial spraying.
Moved by Councillor Hoffman, second by Councillor Hatfield. Whereas the use of aerial spraying of glyphosate for forestry poses significant biodiversity loss, harmful health effects on wildlife, loss of use of land of recreational tourism and hunting gathering purposes, water contamination, and concerns about the effects on human life. Loss of biodiversity of
Phosphate.
Oh my gosh. Glyphosate kills broadleaf plants and reduces habitat diversity. This can also lead to soil erosion due to loss of vegetation and loss of habitat and nutrient sources for wildlife, insects, and aquatic life. Glyphosate promotes monoculture, which reduces forest resilience and also kills non-target species. Species such as moose, birds, snowshoe hares, and insects lose their food and shelter due to glyphosate spraying, and the ability to move away from spraying safely has not been adequately studied. Sprayed areas can look dead and scorched. Land for the recreation, tourism, and hunting gathering can be lost. Future growth of vegetation can be impeded, and with this uncertain future of land use. Berries such as blueberries and raspberries are killed after being sprayed. Contaminated wetlands by winds carrying glyphosate can potentially spill harmful aquatic life, harming aquatic life and ecosystems. Contamination of drinking water resources with glyphosate posing potential human health risks. Aerial glyphosate spraying can drift into nearby communities, roads, and waterways. Chronic exposure of glyphosate has suspected negative impact contributing to human health, including endocrine disruption and concerns that it is carcinogenic. The need for more comprehensive long-term solutions that cannot be achieved through isolated municipal efforts. And whereas municipalities have the limited ability to address the issue of the aerial spraying of glyphosate, particularly on Crown land, and required provincial leadership and regulation. And whereas the province of Ontario has a responsibility to protect the environment and public health, it must take action to reduce the harm caused by aerial spraying of glyphosate. Therefore, it be resolved that, one, the municipality of Wawa urges the federal and provincial governments to take immediate action to end the aerial spraying of glyphosate. Two, the municipality of Wawa calls for the province to form and fund an expert stakeholder advisory committee to advise on the best courses of action to protect the land, vegetation, wildlife, waterways, air, and humans from the harmful effects of aerial spraying of glyphosate. Three, the municipality of Wawa commits to working with the province of Ontario and other municipalities to advocate for stronger provincial leadership on aerial spraying of glyphosate. And four, the municipality of Wawa directs its staff to actively participate in any provincial initiatives or task force related to the aerial spraying of glyphosate. Before that, resolve that a copy of the resolution be forwarded to the following: the Honourable Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, and the Association of Municipalities of Wawa, and other relevant provincial and regional agencies.
I will now call for a recorded vote. Councillor Hoffman. Or Councillor Alpado?
No.
Councillor Hatfield?
No.
I will also vote no. The motion will not pass. Councillor Hatfield, did you have a question or comment?
After reading Alex's report and what was in there is two totally different things. That's what I'm disappointed about.
So to be clear, that resolution is the resolution from the Stop the Spray campaign that the resident asked us to consider.
Okay.
So you're correct. The research that we had done and the documentation from the Ministry of Natural Resources is in direct opposition to that resolution. And so that's how council voted.
Thank you. It is getting a little late, but it's good.
Maureen, did you have something to add?
Yeah, and also procedurally, at the last council meeting, council tabled those resolutions. So we have an obligation to bring them as is to this meeting, so we couldn't change them.
Okay. No, I thought I'd just ask that question because I hate to be mixed up and do the wrong thing. Thank you.
Perfect. Is there any other questions from council before we move forward? Item number 10, new business. 10.1, approve mayor's travel to Sault Ste. Marie on November 20th to attend an evening with Dalton McGuinty.
It was moved by Councillor Hatfield, second by Councillor Hoffman. Resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Wawa does hereby approve the travel of Mayor Melanie Pila to Sault Ste. Marie on November 20th, 2025 to attend an evening with Dalton McGuinty.
All in favor? Carried. 10.1 is supporting resolution, Northern Ontario Women's Association upholding women's rights, leadership and environmental health in the implementation on Ontario Bill 5.
It was moved by Councillor Hoffman, second by Councillor Hatfield, whereas the Government of Ontario has passed Bill 5, Protect Ontario by Unleashing Our Economy Act 2025, aiming to facilitate and accelerate resource development in Northern Ontario. And whereas Bill 5 presents far-reaching implications for municipalities, First Nations, and Indigenous communities across Northern Ontario, particularly affecting natural ecosystems in regions where women, two-spirit, and gender-diverse people have historically borne the brunt of unchecked development and continue to face systematic disparities and heightened risks tied to resource extraction. And whereas women are too often included in economic and development decisions as an afterthought, rather than a proactive and central stakeholders, despite their increasing presence in leadership across municipalities, First Nation governments, community service, and economic development organizations. And whereas First Nations of Ontario women continue to be underrepresented at decision-making tables despite significant leaderships, as of recent reports, women hold over 35% of elected chief positions in First Nations of Ontario, and significantly more leadership positions within community organizations, health, and education boards, positions that bring deep experience in balancing development with community well-being. And whereas the legacy of natural resource development in Northern Ontario has contributed to environmental degradation and social disruption, including clear links to an ongoing crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and two-spirit people. And whereas the national inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and two-spirit people identified extractive industries as a key contributor to increased vulnerability, oh my gosh, I can't say that word either, vulnerability to violence, especially in isolated development zones lacking oversight and safeguards. And whereas resource extraction has historically contributed to environmental degradation, increased cost of living, housing instability, and elevated levels of gender-based violence, particularly in rural and remote areas. And whereas without gender-based and cultural informed planning, development under Bill 5 risks reproducing the same harmful patterns of exclusion, exploitation, and environmental harm that have characterized previous waves of resource development. And whereas development under Bill 5 also presents opportunities for women's economic empowerment, including entry into skilled trades, environmental monitoring, and leadership roles in infrastructure and project planning. If such pathways are made intentional, accessible, and equitable. And whereas environmental degradation is directly linked to the health and well-being of women and children, particularly in remote and Indigenous communities where access to clean water, healthy food systems, and cultural practices are tied to land-based knowledge. And whereas the province of Ontario has obligation to ensure that the economic growth is not achieved at the expense of women's safety, human rights, or environmental integrity. Now therefore be resolved that the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa calls for the province of Ontario to, one, ensure the women, two-spirit, and gender-diverse people, particularly from Indigenous and Northern communities, are actively engaged in the forefront of all planning, consultation, and implementation processes under Bill 5 from concept to completion. Two, establish the dedicated minister role or mandate for overseeing and safeguarding women's rights, safety, and economic opportunity throughout the resource development process, including authority to apply gender-based impact assessments to proposed projects. Three, mandate gender-based and intersectional impact assessments be carried out in all developments enabled by Bill 5, particularly with regard to safety, housing, transportation, healthcare access, and cultural impacts on women and girls. Four, ensure environmental protections are explicitly tied to community health outcomes, especially for women and children, by investing in environmental monitoring and enforcing strong environmental safeguards tied to traditional ecological knowledge and include community-led, land-based health indicators. 5, invest in training, apprenticeships, and leadership programs to ensure women and girls, particularly those in remote, indigenous, and underserved communities, can access opportunities in the skills trade, environmental sciences, project management, and public services tied to resource development. 6, recognize and act on the findings of the MMIWG2S, inquire by implementing productive measures around development zones, including funding for shelters, safe transportation, trauma-informed care, community safety initiatives, and anti-violence strategies embedded in community agreements. 7, publish annual public-facing progress reports on the gender impacts of the development of Bill 5, including employment statistics, leadership inclusion, environmental outcomes, and indicators of community safety and wellness. And be further resolved that this resolution be forwarded to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of Energy and Mines, the Minister of Indigenous Affairs and First Nations Economic Reconciliation, the Associate Minister of Women's Social and Economic Opportunity, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and the Minister of the Environment, Conservation, Parks, Phnom, Noma, and as well as Northern Ontario municipalities and First Nation governments.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Heather. 10.3, approve the 2026 council meeting schedule.
It was moved by Councillor Hoffman and seconded by Councillor Hatfield. Resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality does hereby set the dates for its regular council and committee of the whole meetings for the year 2026 as provided to council in accordance with section 5.1 of the procedural bylaw number 3740-24.
All in favor? Carried. 10.4, supporting resolution, submission of the proposal for the long-term energy project.
It was moved by Councillor Hatfield and seconded by Councillor Hoffman. Whereas the proponent, which is Capri 1736481 Canada Inc., is proposing to construct and operate a long-term energy project located on municipal project lands as defined in with the characteristics outlined in the table below under the long-term 2 energy supply, it's window 1 request for the proposals, and issued by the Independent Electricity System Operator, which is ESO. 2 capitalized terms not defined herein have the meanings ascribed to them in the LT2 brackets E1 RFP. 3, the proponent has no later than 60 days prior to the proposal submission deadline delivered a pre-engagement confirmation notice to the applicable local body administrator in respect to the municipal project lands that includes the details outlined in the table below, except for the unique project ID, which should only be required as part of the pre-engagement confirmation notice if available. And 4, pursuant to the LT2 brackets E-1 RFP, if the long-term energy project is proposed to be located in the whole or in part of the municipal project lands, the proposal must include municipal support confirmation, which may be in the form of a municipal resolution to support a proposal submission. Now therefore be resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa supports the submission of the proposal for the long-term energy project located on the municipal project lands being on the portion of the municipal Wawa Airport. This resolution's sole purpose is to satisfy the mandatory requirements of section 4.2 C3 of the LT2 E-1 RFP and may not be used for the purpose of any other form of approval in relation to the proposal or long-term energy project or any other purpose. 7, the proponent has undertaken or has committed to undertake Indigenous and community engagement activities in respect to the long-term energy project to the satisfaction of the municipality. And the municipal project leads do not include lands designated as prime agricultural areas in the Municipality of Wawa's official plan.
All in favor? Carried. There are no items listed under notice of motion. Item number 12, bylaws. 12.1, first, second, and third reading.
It was moved by Councillor Rapato and seconded by Councillor Hoffman. Resolved that the following bylaws be introduced and read a first, second, and third time and finally passed, and that the mayor and council do sign and seal the same in the rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding. Bylaw number 3829-25 to confirm the proceeding of council at its meeting held on the 18th day of November 2025. bylaw number 3830-25 to repeal repeal the Municipality of Wawa bylaw number 34-06-21 and to appoint KPMG LLP auditor for the Municipality of Wawa in its boards. Bylaw number 3831-25 to amend bylaw number 2513-11 provided for the governing and regulating of vehicular traffic within the Municipality of Wawa. Bylaw number 3832-25 to authorize the corporation of the municipality to enter into an automatic aid fire protection agreement with the Hawk Junction Local Services Board. Bylaw number 3833-25 to authorize the corporation of the municipality of Wawa to enter into an agreement with 17364831 Canada Inc. for the lease of the land located at the Wawa Municipal Airport. And bylaw number 3834-25 to authorize the entering into the execution of agreement with Superior East Community Futures Development Corporation for the distribution and use of the municipal accommodation tax revenues.
Are there any questions or comments on the bylaws presented?
I have a comment. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm good.
Councillor Hatfield?
Maury, I know how much work you put into this, and it's not easy dealing with businesses. And I dealt with them and really tried to get around them, and they are much better on track now, and you talking to them and making some changes made such a difference. And I thoroughly appreciate that, and I told the guys, don't call me every day now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Carried. Item number 13, next meeting date, 13.1, Tuesday, December 16th, 2025. I'll make the caveat with the note, the special meeting date to be determined, potentially December 1st. Item number 14, adjournment. 14.1, close of meeting.
It's moved by Councillor Hoffman, second by Councillor Hatfield, resolved that the meeting close at 9:12 p.m.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, everyone. That was an excellent meeting. Have a great night. See you in December.